Hi guys, so welcome back to my YouTube channel. And here's the thing, last few months ago, well should I say last year, I created this reaction video on how the US stole the Philippines, and I invited this guy, an actual American, to to react with me as well, because let's just say both of our countries are part, should I say, this history, we have a long history together. So I invited him as well and see how much he know about Philippines, and then yeah, for me to know the American side of it as well. And earlier today, I have a new subscriber, so shout out to this guy. He requested for us, well for me, to react to the Philippine insurrection and the word Boondocks. And here's the thing, I invited him as well to see his reaction to it as well and see how's everything. Well, hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Don't forget to give it a like, please share and subscribe, and please be kind in the comment section and enjoy the video. And let's see, you're gonna learn more about the Philippines and the US history.
Okay.
Because I don't know a lot about the Philippine insurrection, so I'm gonna learn something about this as well, and what the word Boondocks mean, because you know the TV show Boondocks, right?
Yeah.
I like that. I like that show a lot. So I don't know what the Philippines has to do with this word Boondocks, or Boondocks with Philippine insurrection. So I'm excited. Let's get started.
Hey, Cypher here. Today I've got a special episode of Wars You've Never Heard of and Engaging Etymology. I'm going to show you how the mundane word boondocks is derived from one of America's longest and most brutal wars. A war that seems to have been forgotten by most, and misrepresented by so many of the people who mention it otherwise. It is the Philippine Insurrection, also known as the Moro War and the Philippine-American Wars. Seriously, the word boondocks comes from a war that raged from 1899 to 1913, a full 14 years. Now that it is 2016, Afghanistan has only now surpassed the length of this war, and is certainly more docile than what happened in the Philippines over a century ago. So let's dig into how this brutal war cemented the word boondocks into our language. During the Spanish-American War, the US sought to capture Manila from the Spanish. There had been a strong independence movement in the Philippines prior to the war in 1896, and the US accidentally helped to create the first Philippines Republic. The US supported revolutionaries who were led by Emilio Aguinaldo in order to gain power over the island from the Spanish. But the US did not support actual independence. When the treaty between Spain and the US
is about
was
the
signed,
same
all the
conflict,
Philippines
isn't it?
were formally
I believe so, on how you guys stole
Yeah, it's the same war. It just is okay. The Philippine insurrection is the Philippine American War. Okay.
And I didn't know it was that long, but we'll see. Let's keep going.
annexed by the US. The newly formed republic that had established itself during the war refused to give in to American control, and so war began in 1899, with Filipinos trying to keep their independence while the US attempted to assert power over its newly acquired territory. There was a large contingent of people who vehemently protested the taking of the Philippines in America. From famous figures like Andrew Carnegie to everyday people who decided to protest in the streets, it was a hotly contested subject. One could draw many parallels to the Vietnam War of 1964 to 1973, except for this war was longer and more brutal. The Philippine War turned nasty quickly. The first years of the insurrection were the worst. As soon as Aguinaldo declared war against the US on February 4th, 1899, fighting began immediately. A day later, the largest battle happened in Manila as the US took the city by force. The war sank into jungle warfare. Each campaign became reliant on increasing guerrilla tactics. It turned nasty, with campaigns to rout out suspected leaders of the insurrection, prison camps, torture, gruesome executions, and mass killings on the scale which really ought to be called genocide. The atrocities were compounded on both sides, but with the US being the more powerful contender, they killed many more civilians than the other side. On numerous occasions, massacres happened where orders were given to simply kill anything that moved within a particular region. One general infamously ordered the killing of any boy who was old enough to carry a gun for the entire island of Samar, barring a particular enclave. Americans even resorted to the old imperial Spanish technique called the water cure, where they would funnel water down a person's throat until they either confessed or drowned. And the massacres, by the way, were just too numerous to even count. Eventually, Aguinaldo was captured in March of 1901. He appealed to the Filipinos to end the insurrection, but it was symbolic and certainly not the end. William Taft, who would later become president, came in as a governor a few months later, but held very little power in the islands. Instead, a terribly effective policy was instituted later that year. People on entire islands were rounded up into concentration camps, and if they refused, they were held to be in insurrection and often killed. By concentrating the population in a particular place, the US Army could rout out any insurrectionaries. As part of this, the US also burned crops and killed livestock, leading to massive famine that killed hundreds of thousands of Filipinos. And this is where the word Boondocks comes in. It means mountain in Tagalog.
Boy, did you not know that?
I didn't. wait. I just found. Well, I do know the word boondock, but I didn't realize it came from like that word.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was shocked. Well, okay. So here's the thing. This guy right here is from the state called Montana, and it's derived from the word montaña in Spanish, which means mountain. And now we are finding out the word bundok. Well, he's finding out the word bundok, basically, which means mountain.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we say mountain in Tagalog. But because here's the thing, there's this show called Boondocks here in the US, and I enjoy it a lot. And like, I didn't know, like it's derived from like Filipino word, boondock. Well, basically, like, I finally understand now, because I remember I was watching this video a long time ago on like how the Spanish like colonized Latin America and like other countries as well, like Philippines. And like a lot of people think like it's just the Spanish influencing like these cultures and all of that. But I also found out that the colonies, including the Philippines, had an influence to Spanish culture as well. So I guess it's the same thing in here. Like, it's not just Americans colonizing Philippines, but we also have like an effect in American culture, should I say? And I just found out this way, boondocks. But here's the thing though, like not a lot of people use the word boondocks though. It's kind of a, well, let's see how they use it in the US. Let's see. Let's go to Google. Boondock meaning. You see, it says here like rough, remote, and isolated country. It's kind of like it's synonymous to like being on the countryside or something. Like this guy, he grew up in Montana. Mm-hmm. Do you consider it like a countryside, Montana?
Yeah, well.
Hmm?
Yeah, I guess.
Well, well, here's the thing. Not a lot of people use the word boondocks like on a regular manner, should I say. It's a slang word, should I say. Do you consider it just a slang word? Boondock? Because not a lot of people know boondocks, like the English word boondocks. It's a slang word, should I say. It's a TV show here in the US, and like you guys are gonna enjoy it a lot. I enjoy that show a lot.
I mean, I feel like I've heard it before. It's not like the most uncommon phrase.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like saying you're from out in the boondocks.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're just thinking of it because you've heard it just from the cartoon alone, but you know.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize it came from like it's derived from like a Filipino word, bundok, which is mountain. So okay, remember that word from now on, okay? Bundok. You're from Boondock.
But Americans came to use it in reference to the area outside of the concentration camps. Seriously, the word boondocks originally entered the English language in relationship to very real and almost genocidal American concentration camps. The worst thing is, this policy of labeling the Boondocks outside of concentration camps as insurrectionary was entirely effective. It broke the insurrection. Most islands were officially pacified in 1902, and that's where many historians end. But they failed to see how the war actually continued. Declaring victory and achieving it are two very different things. Yes, the worst of the fighting was over, but an even more radicalized group began to take over the insurrection. These were the Moros, and they were a fearsome group. They became known for attacking soldiers with their bolo knives and killing many before being felled in a hail of gunfire. It is like how many people imagined Viking berserkers, if imagination on that subject were actually to hold up to reality, but that's not the subject here. But seriously, the army even adopted the M1911 pistol specifically to kill Moros more easily. By the way, they were ethnically Muslim mostly. The insurrection continued well into 1913, with the US military and Filipino constabulary continually using concentration camps, raiding, and patrols to combat Moros. In a final climactic battle, after years of pushing the Moros into smaller and smaller regions, the last of them were fought in the Battle of Bud Bagsak, ending the war for good. Because of the length of this war and the horrid conditions of its victory, the American public was soured on the idea of imperialism, where in 1898 many had rallied around annexing territory. After years of contemptible warfare, most were done with the whole idea. It is because of the Philippines insurrection that the US chose not to pursue more expansion, and did not annex any territory because of World War I. We were done with it. And that's pretty much where American expansionism ended, was in this brutal war. Because of the terrible news arriving from the Philippines of further and further atrocities, Americans adopted some of the lingo, including the word boondocks. It's truly fearful that such a mundane word can carry tinges of genocide and atrocity in its etymology. Makes you wonder what else lays hidden in our language. Well, actually I have a playlist for that.
Okay, so what do you think so far?
I don't.
And as you can
What am I supposed to say?
well, as you can see, guys, like I'm proud Filipino right now. I'm wearing like the map of the Philippines and the emblem. And like, yeah, I was surprised for like the word boondocks. Like, well, to that guy who suggested this video, like I'd like to say thank you for suggesting this video. I did not know that. Like my mind is like blown away right now. Especially the word boondocks. You're from the boondocks or something. And I didn't realize like we have like an influence in American culture as well. Cause like honestly, like growing up in Philippines, like I think you know, we love American culture. Like we're very welcoming to the Americans. Like you witness it. You've been to Philippines before. And like I thought it's just like one way influence, like it's just, you know, American culture, like bringing in their culture to the Philippines and embracing it. I didn't realize like we have an influence in your culture, in your language as well, and like that's mind-blowing to me. Well, here's the thing though, I was working like in a jewelry store before, and like well, there's this store called Trader Joe's as well here in the US, and then I found out like, you know, back then like the word ube is called like purple yam by the Americans, but they adopted like the indigenous name, which is ube here in the US now. And like I go to like Trader Joe's, they have like ube ice cream and all of that. You had ube before, right? I brought ube to you before.
Yeah.
You know, purple cake and like purple everything.
Yeah.
Ube. But yeah, and like I'm finally realizing that we have like an influence in American culture as well. And like I did not know that. And like thank you for like suggesting this video to me. And like what else do you think?
I don't.
Did you learn anything?
I learned that Boondocks comes from a Tagalog word.
And growing up in Montana, so I guess you need to remember that word now, because you're from Montana.
So
Derived from the word Montana in Spanish, because it was named from, like, you know, that word. Because Montana is like very mountainous as well. So would you say you're from the boondock? But you're not a savage though. Because when you say somebody grew up in the mountains, like, they associate it with like being savages and all of that. Like, come on, people. They're better than that. Come on, you're better than that. Come on. Well, thank you for like the suggestion. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Don't forget to give it a like, a share, and subscribe. And don't forget to subscribe to the Cynical Historian, because his channel is like awesome. Like, I can learn a lot from it. So I encourage you guys to subscribe to the Cynical Historian. And I'll see you guys in my future video. Bye.